What would you do with an extra $10,000 every single year? There's really no point to answering that until you figure out how to do it. So in this video, I'm going to give you my 4 favorite money hacks I use to make $10,000 or more every single year. But before I get into that, if you're new here, hello there. I'm Nathaniel with the Fat Stacks Academy, where it's our goal to help every American worker make an extra $5,000 to $15,000 every single year through the best bank account and credit card offers and financial optimization. So if you're up for making some fat stacks, hit that like button and let's get stacking. I am not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. The information in this video is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I do have some affiliate links in the description, and some of the products I do talk about can make me some money if you use those links. But do keep in mind, I do try my best to add the most profitable link I can find, whether or not it is my link. But if it's there and you do your research and think it makes sense for you, it is a great way to support me and help grow the channel. With all that out of the way, let's hack our way to some fat stacks of cash with hack number 1. When I was a kid, I always loved going to the bank with my mom. I liked going there because they would give us candy, usually in the form of a sucker. And I didn't realize this at the time, but I'm pretty sure the bank was conditioning me to be exactly what they wanted me to be. Take that for what it's worth. What I've learned in the last few years is that my bank, for most of my adult life, had been taking my paycheck and earning interest on it by investing it in treasuries and other loans that they essentially make money off of. So despite often having free accounts with no fees or anything, that money that I deposited every single month was earning them money on the hard work that I was doing. And this applies to everyone who has a job, a pension, or some other form of direct deposit. Your bank is making money off of you even if there are no fees or overdrafts. This is so profitable for banks that the hundreds of banks and credit unions that are out there often have promotions for switching over to them. So to turn the tables and take advantage of these banks and financial institutions, you just need to sign up for a new account, set up your direct deposit to that bank, and get an extra $100 to $500 bonus just for switching your paycheck over. I actually made a video recently that gives you a blueprint on how to do this for your first 52 paychecks. I'll add it to the end of the video and as a card up here. But in year 1, for anyone who makes $30,000 to $40,000, you can easily make an extra $3,625 per year just on direct deposit bonuses. So for hack number 1, sending your paycheck to the highest bidder will add $3,625 for the year on our goal to make an extra $10,000 or more. Hack number 2 is something that if you've watched me for a while, you'll know a lot about. It's getting a high yield checking or savings account for the money that's just sitting there. So we already talked about how your money, when you're paid, banks really want that, but obviously the money that's just sitting there that you're not taking at all, you want to make sure you're getting it as high of an interest rate as possible while being backed by FDIC or NCUA insurance. Now that we're leveraging our direct deposit, let's use hack number 2 to make as much money as we can with our money before we spend or invest it. And that is to make sure we use either a high yield savings or checking account wherever we park our money. This one is so easy, I'm always shocked when I meet people who aren't doing it. This makes me at least $2,000 every year passively with no effort whatsoever. Like we learned in the last hack, most banks take your work in the form of money for granted and don't compensate you for it. There are some who do, however, and my all-time favorite one is Wealthfront because it earns me 5 to 5.5% on all of my money in this high interest rate environment, including money that is only in the account for short periods of time that is used to pay my bills, not just my savings. I live in Hawaii and have higher household bills than most people in the United States, so I usually need at least $9,000 in my expense account to pay my mortgage, childcare, all the credit card bills that I funnel a lot of my spending onto. And I love that I'm making 5.5% on that $9,000, which for me comes out to an extra $495 per year. I also have a separate bucket in that account for my emergency fund. It took a dip recently when I bought a house and had some expenses, but right now it's sitting at around $40,000. And at that interest rate, that earns me an extra $2,200 per year just for sitting there. Whenever I'm planning a vacation or a car purchase or some other large expense, I tend to have that in this account as well. Prior to having Wealthfront, I had an Ally account, which worked really well if you want more of just a straight savings account. But the most important thing for me when choosing a high yield checking savings account is make sure it's backed by either FDIC insurance or NCUA insurance if it is a credit union. This just means that your deposits are going to be backed by the federal government, which is an extra stopgap in case there's some shady business that happens in the financial market, like in 2008 or more recently with the Silicon Valley Bank situation. So for hack number 2, using a high yield savings account or checking account, with my monthly expenses, I'm making an extra $495 per year in interest on that account. And my savings or emergency fund, as of right now, is earning me about $2,145 for a total of $2,695, and we'll add that to the counter for the year. All right, the other hack is more of a pet project of mine. This one's actually a little petty and not the highest reward, if I'm honest, but I can't help myself from taking every dime from banks and credit card companies that I can. I put all the spending that I can on a credit card because I get cash back miles and hotel points along with fraud protection. I always pay off my cards in full each month unless I'm in a 0% APR period. You can click a video on this over here. That's not a strategy for everyone, but it's one that I also leverage. And in that case, I leave my money I need to pay it off in my high yield savings account. For my month-to-month cards, ones that I pay off in full every single month, which is most of them, I learned I can squeeze just a little more value out of that than just the cashback rewards I get from them. So in the last hack, I talked about how my monthly expenses have to be in an effective checking account to pay my bills each month on time. I like how it earns interest, but that usually only lasts for 30 days if your bills come directly from your checking account, because the second you pay a bill, it gets debited out of there. But when you put something on a credit card, you generally have 30 to 60 days to pay your bills balance in full from when you made a purchase, because of the grace period and the time that the charge actually hits your statement. So for example, if I paid my monthly electric bill from my checking account this month, it's $265, either with my debit card or via check. That $265 would immediately leave my checking account. But when I use my credit card, which is what I like to do, the credit card company is loaning out that money and I get to keep that $265 earning interest in my savings account at 5.5% for 30 to 60 extra days than it would have otherwise been there. So between 30 and 60 days, it's not really worth calculating when you make the purchases, in my opinion. That means that when I buy something on my credit card, there's about a 45-day period where my money is earning interest on each purchase. I ran this on a spreadsheet for my expenses. I'm able to put on a credit card annually, and it earns me an extra $20.25 a month, or $243 per year in interest. The way I think about it is that about $20 a month pays for my Disney and Hulu monthly ad-free subscription. This really isn't the biggest amount, but it's an extra couple $100 a year just for paying my credit card payment on the due date, which I just have running in the background on automatic payments. It doesn't take any more time. The one downside to this hack is if you don't have a big credit limit on your card, if the balance goes above around 10% and is reported to the credit bureaus, it can temporarily reduce your credit score. So don't do this and pay your balance before the statement close date to keep your utilization low if you are wanting to get the best rate possible on a mortgage, auto loan, or better odds for a credit card application. To make as much interest as possible, when you want to pay this is on the due date, not before. For that amount of money, it's not something I actively think about or calculate. I just set up my credit cards to auto pay from my Wealthfront account and just know I'm skimming a little bit of money each month off the credit card company's dime. If you want to calculate how much you could make based on your monthly expenses, I'll leave that same spreadsheet I use in the description to figure out the number. So for hack number 3, I make an extra $243 per year to bring the total to $6,563. All right, in hack number 4, I get a new credit card every 3 months or so between my wife and I. Just like banks are competing with each other for your direct deposit, like in hack number 1, credit card companies offer even more lucrative bonuses to acquire your spending. So the last most profitable hack I've discovered is to get a new credit card every 3 months. This is usually for after you have a good length of credit history where new inquiries and accounts don't affect your score too much. This usually happens between years 2 and 5 of having good credit history. For me, I'm comfortable getting a new card for myself every 3 to 6 months because my oldest account's over 13 years. Between my wife and I, we keep our scores in the 750 to 800 range, even with this relatively high velocity of credit card applications. So to give you an example of how much you can make from this, I'm just gonna give you 4 cards that are currently on my radar to get soon. And if you broke this down as if those were the 4 cards I was going to get this year, you'll see how much money this can actually make you. All right, so the first one on my radar, one I'm probably going to get, is the Chase Ink Preferred. I do have a painting business, but almost anyone can get a business card as a sole proprietor if you drive Uber, have some other form of income, either buying or reselling things. I have this on my radar because it has an elevated sign-up bonus of 120,000 ultimate rewards points, which can be transferred out to travel partners or just taken as cash back at 1 cent per point for $1,200. The other really cool thing about this particular offer and this particular family is my spouse also has another Chase Ink card, and there's a 40,000 ultimate reward point bonus. So that's an extra $400 minimum value that we can get from it. What I would have to do on this card is spend $8,000 in 3 months, and I would also get another $80 from that. There is a $95 annual fee, but that would bring the total minimum value I'd get to this card to $1,505. Another card I'm considering getting right now is the refreshed American Express Gold card. I actually did a video recently about a kind of secret elevated offer if you know how to get it. And that's the only way I would actually get this card, is because it is one of the highest points offers American Express has ever had on this card. Just for a quick recap, you'll get 100,000 membership rewards points when you spend $6,000 in 3 months, and get a 20% back on restaurant spending up to $100. So I value American Express points at about 1 cent per point, just as a minimum, because I can cash them out with my Business Platinum and business checking account, but I generally redeem them for travel for a bit more value. Unlike the Chase Ink Preferred card, the spending categories are actually a bit higher because you get 4x on dining and groceries. I won't be able to fully max that out, but I think I could at least get 3 points per dollar on $6,000 in spend, especially if I strategically use that over 6 months, and that would be an extra $180. So with the 1 cent per point, 100,000 membership rewards points, the $100 statement credit, and the $180 worth of points from my natural spend, I also have to deduct the $325 annual fee, and I would get $955 of total value from this card in the first year. I also haven't actually gotten the American Express Personal Platinum card yet. This is a third card that's on my radar if I happen to get the Gold card. You'd want to get the Gold card first because, if in American Express's family language, if I got this bonus on the Platinum card, I would no longer be eligible for the Gold card. But this is another one that is on my radar because there is a up to 175,000 membership rewards points welcome offer when you spend $8,000 in the first 6 months of card membership, which is really high. At 1 cent per points, I value that at $1,500. I also value a lot of the credits they have at about $220, about half value between their Uber and spending credits. And I would get about $80 on that $8,000 worth of spend at 1 cent per point. There's a $695 annual fee that we have to deduct from all of that would bring the value to $1,105. I actually talked about this card a little bit and that offer in this monthly video up here if you're interested in that. All right, the fourth card that I'd get in Q4, for example, that I'm also considering right now is the Capital One Venture card. There is a 75,000 Capital One miles reward when you spend $4,000 in 3 months, plus a $250 travel credit when you meet that spending requirement. I value those miles at about 1 cent per point, just as a baseline, but could probably get more than that with the travel. So that brings it to $1,000 just between the welcome offer. It also gets 2 points per dollar on spend, and on that $4,000, I would get at least $80 worth of value from the spend, minus that $95 annual fee, which would bring the total to $985 for this card. If we put all 4 of those cards together, this would take about a year. That's an extra $4,550 just getting a new card at least every 3 months. A lot of times I do increase my velocity to get more value than this, but for most people that have a little bit of a mature credit profile, it's a really easy way to get some extra money and travel value per year. So for hack number 4, getting a new credit card every 3 months or so, I would put that value at $4,550. Okay, and now we'll add all 4 of these hacks together to see how much we can get. For hack number 1, using your direct deposit and bank offers, you'll be getting an extra $3,625. Hack number 2, just using a high yield checking or savings account, I personally get at least $2,695 per year as of right now, just with the 2 methods I talked about between my emergency fund and my monthly expenses. Hack number 3, which is just some credit floating between the credit cards and paying our credit card on the due date. That's just an extra $243. And the most lucrative of them all, which is leveraging our credit to get our spending maximized. We'd be making an extra $4,550 with the 4 cards that I'm talking about here. And that would actually bring the total to $11,113. All right, you guys, thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments if you have any other money hacks to make some extra money. Remember to like the video so the algorithm can spread these fat stacks of cash to more people. And as always, if you want to be reminded of how beautiful you are in each and every upload, hit that subscribe button. Every single month, I find the best, often elevated offers, not just for your direct deposit, but for your spending and savings. Click on this one over here. Earlier in the video, I talked about how to maximize your direct deposit in general. And in this video over here, I give you a 2-year plan to make over $6,000 on your first 52 paychecks. Thanks again, guys, and have a great day.